not thriving.
All right, before we get into our added value segment and our listener tips today, it looks like we've got a bunch more surprise questions to talk.
You know what? I hear that because trying to get medication right now has been brutal. But you're in, oh, I'm so sorry. Where are you at?
So I'm in Derbyshire in the UK.
That is, that's, I can't even imagine what that's like. So you guys, do you have like pharmacies, or do you like, are you in one of the villages? I am really bad with UK. I've only been to London once. So I'm hoping someone in the UK will adopt me and let me move to the UK, but.
So I'm basically in the heart of the National Forest. So my house is surrounded by, sorry?
I'm dying of jealousy right now.
There are birds like talking all the time though. It's super frustrating. Yeah, so we're in the heart of the National Forest. We're in a cul-de-sac. I don't know if you have those. Do you have those in America?
I actually live in one. Yes, we are American suburbs, which is all about the cul-de-sac.
Nice.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, just right in the middle of the country, really.
That sounds gorgeous. So are you able to do you have like a village pharmacy or someplace that's easy to get your medication? Is it like super corporate like it is here where your pharmacist has no clue who you are, or?
Oh, my pharmacist has no idea who I am, trust me.
Okay.
My GPs don't even know who I am, even though I go there like all blooming time. So basically to get my medication, I have to drive to my hospital, which is an hour and a half away. And because of the medication that I'm on Tecfidera for multiple sclerosis. So for that, I need to have a blood test every 3 months. And then I need to go back the week after to go and pick up the tablets again. So that's 2 trips to the hospital that I really do not want to do right now. And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, we're recording this right now in the middle of COVID. So it's, I think we're all scared to go get our pills. Now, do you guys have delivery? Like everyone's been telling me, oh, just go ahead and use your delivery service for your pills.
Yeah,
but I use high-level opioids and they will not deliver those.
No, they won't deliver mine either, literally because I'm on the border of Derbyshire and Leicestershire. And because my hospital is in Leicestershire, they won't deliver to Derbyshire. So they're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, for God's sake. Help me out, please.
Right.
But,
yeah. I stupidly, we have Costco, which is, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like this mega store that's like the size of like 3 city blocks. And that's where I have my prescriptions because it's on my way home from my pain clinic. And that way I can like pick stuff up and get my pills and I don't have to make an extra step, but it's a huge facility. And to get to the pharmacy I actually had my watch on just to see how far it was. And it's almost like, it's like 1/8 of a mile to get there and back to the car.
My God.
So I had gone in for a relocation. I think we had to reschedule. It was either you or someone else had to reschedule, but my tibia dislocated. So I had to go in for a tibia relocation, and then I had to go to Costco to pick up my pain pills. And I think I might have started some sort of weird Disney movie because everyone looked at me like some sort of like lame Disney animal just started like hopping over towards like sadly with. And the worst part of it was my cane broke in the middle of it. So I was like sliding on one side. My husband was like trying to hold me up. It was like one of these like god awful like tearjerker movie moments where like this older woman who was like, and I'm an old woman too, but like definitely visibly older than me, was like looking at me going, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. It'll get better.
Oh,
I'm done. I want to go home and curl up and like not get out of bed for another few days. All right. So I did not do a proper introduction. So Jessie, everyone's pretty familiar on our channel with Eva and I run Explicitly Sick for Invisible Not Broken. Eva, you run. Are you back with us, Eva?
I'm back.
Yay, you run what?
Yay.
We just found your name. I'm so excited. And then I just blanked on what your name was. Eva. No, Eva, what's your new podcast name? Chronically Human?
Yes.
We did the whole thing. And
Chronically Human.
Oh, I'm so smart. Yay, I'm proud of me. And then Jessie, you run a podcast as well. I'm so glad you reached out to us.
Oh, it's exciting. Thanks so much for this. So I run the Disabled to Enabled podcast.
And I'm so sorry. I was trying to like get your podcast, but you're mostly on Podbean. Is that right? And I didn't have it downloaded. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. Jessie? Oh, you froze, Jessie. All right. So Eva, we were discussing, while we're dealing with all the technology of Zoom, Jessie has MS, and we were just kind of talking about trying to get our prescriptions and the fun and joy of getting prescriptions right now with COVID.
In the UK, I assume it's also quite a hassle.
Seriously, I was so shocked because I know she's she was just telling me she's in the middle of National Forest, which I'm dying of jealousy right
Ooh.
now. Yeah, she has left.
Ooh.
She'll hopefully come back. We'll have some fun stitching that one together. Yay, Zoom, poor Zoom, which is now like what the necessity of all of us now. But are you having fun getting your prescriptions?
I somehow got them without a hitch. I'm truly surprised by that, especially because in the midst of all of this, I switched providers.
How'd that go? Oh my God, you brave woman.
I got a good one. That's how.
See, look at this. This is like what I'm dealing with right now.
Kitty.
Aw.
She's got a zoo there, I swear. But a great zoo of only the best animals, the cutest animals.
Did you just go Trump on my animals? You went Trump on my animals.
I did.
The greatest, the best.
The greatest.
I have the
They're
best
huge.
with the fluffiest butts. And oh my God, no more news for you before we record.
Oh, God.
That is not okay. Did you hear her just go Trump on my chickens?
We're
That
not the biggest fans.
Oh no, we are so please everyone listening, forgive us. We did not vote for him, and 3 million more people did not vote for him. We do not endorse the orange monster.
I'll leave it on at
We'll
that.
leave it on that, yes, but we do have an orange cat that's very cute and sweet and evil, who was just jumping in on the frame because we're going with all the Zoom home meetings with animals.
That's so cute. I love that.
So you were starting to tell us about your podcast.
Yes, before I got rudely interrupted by Zoom, who is like, I think, struggling under the weight of the world right now.
Oh my God, who knew that there were going to be essential services?
Do you know, it's really funny because my husband's dad messaged us yesterday and was like, how do I set up a Zoom? Is it a Zoom link? What do I do with this? And I want to talk to my friend. And I was like, what? I don't know how to use technology. Like, this is weird. Have you found that?
My in-laws are lovely, and they're almost I think they're almost 90 now, and we can't get them even to do email, so I've given up. And my mom is anti-technology, so she'll use the cell phone, and that's the best we can do. My dad and I send like stupid gifts to each other throughout the day because he's bedbound, but that's technology in my family. How about you, Eva?
I don't even think it's limiting to those of an older generation. I know people my age that had no idea what to do with this. I have a therapist who's actually my age, and she knows that like her clinic used Zoom, but never had before all of this. And she was so skeptical of like how it all works. And I just think it's hilarious. My favorite interaction though with someone starting telemedicine for the first time was this doctor who's now retired, but he's like really famous pediatrician. And he knew that I was involved in telemedicine companies. And so he said, help me set up a telemedicine practice. I said, sure. Can we meet sometime this week? And we established that the easiest time for us to meet would be over video chat. He couldn't figure out how to make Zoom work just so we could meet to talk about telemedicine.
Oh no, this is hard.
I was like, maybe this isn't the best for you now.
I mean, I'm curious about HIPAA violations with all of this. Like Zoom and certainly was not secure. Skype certainly is not as secure as they like us to all think. I'm really curious how this HIPAA violation is working with all the telemedicine.
They're kind of just waiving it right now.
I mean, the United States decided to waive most of our civil liberties for right now, so I don't see why HIPAA is any different. Like,
what about in the UK? How prevalent is telemedicine, or is it just like us and all of a sudden it's really big?
Yeah, all of a sudden it's almost like it's kind of just come overnight, and it's like, yeah, sure, we can do that. What? I'm sorry. Like, why have I been traveling for like an hour and a half, driving to a hospital, suffering from severe fatigue? Like, why have we not done this before? But I do think it's one of the positive things that's going to come out of this is the whole just a more accessible approach to life, I think. And I think there's going to be so many more opportunities that come up for people who, can't travel or can't go out to a physical job and things like that. So
yeah. It's going to be the silver lining. one of the few silver linings of this whole situation. I mean, telemedicine is going to take off at some point. We all knew it was, but I was always wondering, what was it going to be that pushed it out the gate? Well, I got my answer.
You did.
This is it. Pandemic.
That was not on my 2020 like apocalypse bingo card. It should have been, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't
You
on the
fought
bucket
for this
list
for a
either.
long time, Eva, was the idea of like accessibility to specialists that a lot of people won't have accessibility to. Like there's definitely countries where you would not find someone who's an expert in Ehlers-Danlos or someone who's an expert in like a certain sort of rehabilitation.
Yeah, it's and now that's the one other thing I hate saying anything positive about the pandemic, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Like the good thing that's coming from this isn't just telemedicine, but telemedicine for chronic care. Because even though telemedicine was starting to expand, it was still really limited to like acute care or urgent care and not people who needed ongoing relationships with their practitioners and specialists, like a rheumatologist or a gastroenterologist or what have you. And now they have been forced to provide telemedicine. So my husband's a gastroenterologist. He's literally in the other room right now, like in quote unquote clinic treating patients. And he's never done this before. And yesterday was his first day doing specifically that with new patients. And he was all worried. And he was like, what am I going to do? And I said, you'll figure it out. And everyone is. Yeah. And look, in gastroenterology and well, all the specialties really, there are times where in-person is absolutely necessary, but so little of it is necessary in person. And I really hope that this teaches our healthcare systems around the world that we don't need to do things in person all the time, especially if it costs us more money and pain. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah, and schools too. I mean, especially schools, like there's so many disabled people can't go to colleges or to even high school or middle school or grade school because the classroom just is not accessible. It would be amazing if this doesn't just all get gaslit and decided that this never really happened and we just go back to the status quo normal of healthy people are the norm.
Yeah, I hope it's not. I mean, I hope this has really given kind of people who are, able and healthy, like the wake up call to actually, people live like this all the time, because I don't think they appreciated that. And when you tell someone, if it's a family or friend or someone, and you say to them, oh, I'm having to isolate because, I'm really sick right now or whatever, then the response is normally like, oh, you're lucky you get to stay at home. But I think they're kind of like, oh, this isn't a good thing,
Maybe this ends that whole like lucky you get to stay at home all the time answer that we all get.
Yeah, I think we literally all have that one at some point or another.
So speaking of staying at home, we all run podcasts. I did not get to introduce your podcast, so I will let you do that now.
Yeah, so I run the Disabled to Enabled podcast, and we basically, I've made it my mission to fill the internet with positivity after my own diagnosis, which was pretty awful, really negative, where my doctor literally told me to go and Google what MS was so that I could find out for it for myself. Yeah, that's the face I pulled as well. Monica, definitely. And so obviously I found every negative story under the sun, and I was like, right, okay. It was about 4 years later, and I was like, right, we need to change this. We need to fill it with positivity. So I find people who have chronic conditions or have been in an accident or maybe so their life has dramatically changed in some way. And we highlight the positive stuff that they've done since that. So maybe they've ran a marathon. Maybe they've started a business to help other people, or maybe they've started a blog, or they're just, I don't know, sharing their story in some way, or climbed Kilimanjaro. Like the things that people have done have been extraordinary. And I just think it's so empowering to hear those kind of stories, to kind of let people know that this diagnosis isn't the end, and I thought it was right at the beginning of my story. I thought that was the end. And I thought that was, the career that I'd planned for the last 4 years at university was just completely null and void or overnight, because everything just changed so suddenly for me. So
what
I
was
wanted
the career that you were going to do? What were you studying?
So I was studying design crafts at university, which was basically like glass blowing and metalwork and ceramics, so very kind of hands-on. And I'd set up a business as an illustrator in my second year because I wanted a job to go into afterwards. And I was like, right, this isn't guaranteed, so I'm going to make my own. I'm going to make my own job, and then it'll be fine. And because I had severe anxiety back then, and I just drove myself nuts because I was like, I'm going to leave and I'm not going to get a job, and I'm going to, oh, this is really awful. So yeah, so I spent the last year of university trying to do this full-time course and run a business at the same time, which was ridiculous, and I shouldn't have done it. Got right to the end, and I had like a contract for a children's book ready to go for when I left, and I had like a contract with an agent that was ready to go. All I needed to do was finish uni. And then on the last day of university, I woke up with my left side not working at all. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was 22 at the time, so I thought I was invincible, obviously. Turns out not. And so I had to just completely reevaluate my whole life right there and then. It's weird.
Your last day of uni?
The very last day.
Wow.
Typically, I know. So I was tripping over my foot all day. I couldn't use my left hand or anything, like holding things just was not happening. And my husband, this is a really funny story actually, my husband, to cheer me up, made me my favourite meal, which was spaghetti bolognese. Okay, I love spaghetti bolognese, and he made this favourite meal as a treat. And I was sat there and I was like, this is great, but I can't actually twirl the spaghetti because I can't feel my hands. So I was like just trying to he had to cut it up for me. It was a new interesting experience. Let's just say that. So
I agree so distinctly on that, because I think we have way too much in common with having to abandon careers. I think all of us have a lot in common with having to abandon careers and plans because of health, but yours came on so suddenly.
It was literally like completely out of the blue. I was completely fine. I was completely healthy and normal. I thought I was anyway. And then all of a sudden, it's like I woke up on this last day, and it was all just completely upside down. It was crazy. And I'm stubborn. I'm a stubborn person. So I waited 7 days before I went to the doctor to sort it out, because I was like, oh, it'll be a trapped nerve or something.
Actually, real quick, just to educate those of us in the United States, we're still on the fence of the idea that if you have socialized medicine, you will never see a doctor. How long did it take you to get an appointment?
With my GP?
Yeah.
I can't actually remember, to be honest. I think it was actually
months. There's this myth that if we go socialized medicine, that if you have an emergency, you won't be able to see a doctor for 3 or 4 months.
Oh, I think I managed to get in. I think it was about 3 or 4 days that it took to actually get this appointment, if I remember.
Yeah, quick little side.
So yeah, and then I went to see this doctor, and she basically said, oh, it's something called a hemiplegic migraine. I was like, all right, okay. And she was like, have you ever had a migraine? I was like, no. I thought it was just a headache. Why does that mean that my left side stopped working if it's a headache? But yeah, no. She said it was that, and she let me go with this misdiagnosis, which was crazy. And I got home, planning what to have for dinner, and she called me back, and she was like, actually, I probably should have sent you to A&E. I was like, why? She was like, because I've just been speaking to my colleague, and she thought that actually you could have had a stroke, so yeah, you should really go and sort that out. So I'm gonna write you a letter, leave it in reception, and you can come pick it up and then go take it to A&E. I was like, what? How could I have had a stroke? I'm 22 years old. I'm perfectly healthy. What's going on? This is crazy. So went and picked up this letter, went to A&E, which is, ER for you guys. Whenever I say that in interviews, they're always like, what's A&E? The ER.
Except yours doesn't charge $50,000.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But on the other side, I have to wait 5 hours to actually to see anybody. So I don't know how that compares.
Emergency room. When my shoulder was here, my arm was. I'm sorry, I'm pointing on a podcast. My arm was all the way to where my breast is. It was all the way to the front. I waited 6 hours before a doctor spent 5 minutes with me. So trust me, not here.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy.
Yeah.
There aren't enough doctors in the world. That's the problem.
No.
It's not really country specific. Some obviously have way less than others, but
Yeah.
that's
We are
one of
so
the
lucky.
many issues with the systems.
Totally. And they're not paid enough, which is another.
Oh yeah. They're paid the most in America and they're still not paid enough. Well, it depends, but many of them are not paid enough here.
And we have a huge doctor shortage here in the United States, especially for gynecologists and for GPs.
Oh yeah. Well, it's because GPs aren't getting paid and they don't want to be GPs anymore. That's what they're like. If you ask, so I talk to residents and fellows all the time, and that's the main reason they tell me they don't want to be GPs, is they won't get paid enough.
Yeah, but they have to do so much, don't they, for what they do. So,
and also the cost to become a doctor is so extreme. Like the student loans are brutal, and then you also will have to like pay insurance, which is the insurance cost. Well, you know this better than I do, Eva. But my friends who are doctors, they say that the reason they go to work for something like Kaiser is because the insurance cost is so high if they don't.
Yeah, I tend to forget. I force myself to forget that I think we have about $300,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least. And I think it gets worse every year that he doesn't make a real salary. My husband, he's a fellow, so he's like still technically in training sort of for like a year. Woohoo!
Yeah. We need doctors. We're gonna charge you $500,000 to become one. Yeah, that's my favorite. Or a teacher. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fun thing here. All right, so off the subject of debt. And so we all started podcasts. Jessie, tell me about like your process on how you started, just because there's a lot of people who are at home right now who might have an idea for a podcast or a blog. Maybe you can help some people out and give them some ideas.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if anyone is wanting to start a podcast, I am starting a course on this soon, so please get in touch with me. I'm putting you on the wait list for that. But like the basic kind of the basic way I started, I think, was just because I was listening to so many different ones on, and I should probably explain this a little bit more what I'm about to say. Basically, my husband used to be a wedding singer. So we used to travel all around the country to like different gigs and stuff. So we spent a lot of time in a van together. And in the van, we listened to a lot of podcasts. And I remember listening to this specific business one. And it was kind of like a lighthearted sort of businessy, but kind of fun kind of thing. And we kind of, I kind of thought, wouldn't it be great to have this for chronic illness? That would be awesome. And then it just kind of went from there.
Chronic Illness Podcast. So when you tell the Chronic Illness Podcast, was that what you were? I'm sorry. I got very nauseous right in the middle of what you're saying, and I heard like a small part of it. So so that's when you decided to start a Chronic Illness Podcast?
Pretty much, yeah. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to kind of take that idea and then implement it into the kind of chronic illness world and make chronic illness a little bit more to kind of share the highs and the lows, and that sort of thing, I think. Yeah,
so
I mean,
did you find did you start as a blog or just jumped right in as a podcast?
Just jump right in as a podcast, because at this sort of time, I was writing like blogs and articles for different MS charities and things, and I had some really interesting feedback that kind of said, you're a really young kind of blogger in comparison to everybody else who sort of writes for these sort of charities. So I was covering issues that wasn't really being covered anywhere else,
Do you mind giving a little bit of a timeline, like when you were diagnosed, when this was happening, and like when you started the podcast?
Yeah,
because you're so young looking. I don't really know what we're talking
about 12. I know. It's a good thing. I think people keep telling me it's a good thing. I still get ID'd for deodorant. It's a bit weird.
That was not what I was expecting you to say next.
Yeah, so basically I was diagnosed when I was 22. And then, so like all the career changed and everything. I went into fashion, first of all. So I was a fashion designer for like high street stores and things. And then it wasn't till about 4 years after when me and my partner were running a wedding business together, and it was kind of advice for brides to be, getting married and that sort of thing. And that was the first time I'd really started to share my story in like live videos and things. And it amazed me that brides to be were coming to me saying, oh my God, I've got an invisible illness as well. How do I kind of get through this day? Because a wedding day is a really long day. And we used to do something called Tutorial Tuesday, which was how to, make or how to kind of DIY everything for your wedding. And some people ask me, how can I be disguising my oxygen tank into my dress? Or how can I pretty up my wheelchair so that it looks more wedding-y, And I was like, oh my God, I can help people with my story. This is insane. What's that about? That's incredible. And it was from that point that I really decided to start blogging for different charities. So this was like 4 years in. And then I think, so we ended our business together. That took about a year. So I think it was around, when did I start my podcast? Let me think about this. Oh, duh. It was World MS Day last year. So it was the 30th of May that the podcast started last year.
Oh, wow.
So it's been going less than a year so far, which is amazing. And I've learned so much in the last year.
So you have 72 episodes. 72 episodes since May?
Yeah.
Wow.
So in the last few months, we've started splitting down our episodes into like 3 or 4. So we've been doing 4 because of the whole, we've been covering the coronavirus and things like that. So we release 4 a week now instead of 1, which has made like a huge difference.
Is that a huge difference because they're shorter episodes, or are you still doing long form for 4 episodes a week? I'm just dizzy with the amount of work that would be.
No. So we basically take 1 hour long episode and then we split it down, because I noticed that whenever I listen to kind of long episodes and things, I get distracted a lot, and I kind of get distracted halfway through and I just kind of go, and it kind of just tails off. So for me, because I struggle with attention anyway, and try to keep concentration is really, really hard. So I take 1 hour long episode and then split that down. So it's like 10-15 minute episodes instead of like a whole hour, which is so much easier to kind of consume, I think. And then I feel kind of like I've got more of an achievement listening, because I can listen to 4 episodes and I'm like, oh, I listened to 4 podcast episodes today. That's awesome.
And do you do all of your own work? Like, I'm trying to figure out like how with MS you have I have Ehlers-Danlos, fibromyalgia, like, it's a whole host of other things. How do you have the energy to do all this, or do you hire out?
So I've recently found like the most amazing person. So I basically have our Enabled Warriors group on Facebook, and from there's 4 people that run that for me, which is incredible. And then one of those asked me if she could help with like different stuff. And I was like, well, I could really, really use some help with editing the podcast. Like, have you ever done that before, kind of thing? And so she does that for me. She edits every episode, and it's the most incredible, amazing thing. And I don't know how to thank her, because it helps me so much. I think the biggest way to run a business when you've got chronic illness is to just be so strict with your calendar and time block everything. That is my main thing. That's my number one. And everybody mocks me to high heaven about my calendar because if someone's not in my calendar, then it just does not get done. It's just not happening, and I get mocked for it so bad. But yeah, it's just the way it's got to be,
No is such a powerful sentence, and you're way younger than I am. It took me probably a few more decades than even alive to figure out that no is acceptable. Like, that's such an important thing to learn, is to value your time. But yeah, the help sounds amazing. Anyone listening, even if we're doing this by ourselves, we need help. That sounds wonderful.
It takes a village, especially when you have a chronic illness.
Definitely.
But that's also the great thing about the chronic illness community in general, is that people want to be part of a mission to better the lives of others. Mm-hmm. It is very community oriented and support oriented. And that's a weird, we're talking silver linings before, like the silver lining of being sick and being part of this community is people do want to be involved with one another.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Amazing. the number one thing I can recommend to anybody is to, if you're going to start a podcast, also start a group. Start your own group on Facebook, because it's just, it's the most amazing thing, because you've always got that kind of sounding board as well then. So if you've got because right at the start, when you're kind of like, okay, well, who am I going to help? Who's going to listen to this podcast, and you're asking yourself all these questions, and you kind of like, how long should an episode be, or how is this okay for an introduction? Like, because if you're just on your own and you're podcasting, you've got no idea, because hardly anybody comments to start off with, and you're just like, oh gosh. So having that kind of sounding board and having a group where you can go into and be like, guys, I've got this idea. What do you think of this idea? Is this a good idea, or am I just like totally like on something right now? What's going on? And they'll give you an honest answer, and it's amazing. So that is my pro tip for today.
Good one.
So are you on Podbean? Is that what I was saying?
Yeah, so that's my host. So to start a podcast, you generally find it's called something like an RSS host. So you basically put it on that, they give you an RSS code, and then you have to manually put that on iTunes, as I remember. This was like a year ago, I can't remember. But the host puts it on every other site. So then it's kind of done.
And is like I haven't checked out Podbean. Is there like a charge for being on Podbean, or did you try Anchor or any of the other ones?
I didn't try Anchor because I didn't know about it back then. So Anchor's the one that's free, isn't it? I think. Am I right in saying that? Yeah.
Yeah, we're paying way too much for ours, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, I decided to go with Podbean. Just and again, like, I've got no idea why I even went for that. I think because it was one of the cheapest ones, and I think because it gave you statistics and that sort of thing, so you can really track progress. That was really helpful. Which one are you on, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no worries. So when I started on Squarespace, as I wanted to have a place to also blog. So we had Squarespace, which you can do the full RSS feed, which it was actually pretty easy and good to start up. And I am not a good coder, so it was nice, but it didn't feed. You'd had to manually feed into all of the other ones, and I did not have the time and energy for that. So we went with Acast, and Acast feeds into everything without you having to do anything. You get full analytics. It's also expensive. Yeah. So we're looking at, we don't make money on the podcast. We don't have advertisers. We don't have the money to keep paying for the stuff every month, because we also pay for Squarespace, which is fantastic, but it's, especially when I'm on disability, it definitely is a bit of a jump in. Do you have other businesses that you run, or do you are you focused on the podcast?
So the podcast is a part of my business. It's not like everything's focused around that. So I blog regularly for different MS charities and different MS websites and things like that. And I also write and illustrate for different MS magazines as well. And I'm going through this thing right now called the OFA challenge. I don't know if you've heard of like the whole ClickFunnels movement, Russell Brunson.
Oh yeah.
Looking at me puzzled. Maybe not.
Yes, I know all about it.
So my husband's an internet marketer, and he's just been like throwing these terms at me, and I was like, what's that? I've got no idea what that is. And I saw this one funnel away challenge, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give it a go, see what it's all about. And then we can then kind of get our services out to more people. We can help more people, and it's going to help us like get more people into the podcast, and get more people to the site and that sort of thing. Because I think one of the biggest challenges that you come up against if you're doing any sort of any kind of patient advocacy is trying to monetize what you do, and trying to monetize your blog, and trying to monetize, if you're starting a podcast, trying to monetize the podcast. Because when you've got very limited listeners right at the beginning, it's super hard to grow anything, because obviously it's hard to monetize something that's got an audience that's so small. So it's like, how do you do that, So one of the things I've actually been looking into recently is affiliate marketing. And we've had our first affiliate client for about, I'm not quite sure, 2-3 months, I think. And that's been really helpful, because that's kind of paid for, various different things in the business. And things like, so like everything in my business is scheduled completely. So podcasts are currently scheduled till like mid-July right now. Social media is scheduled for about 4 weeks, I think, and all that sort of stuff. But these things cost money, don't they?
Yeah,
That's the hard part.
yes, they do.
That's the hard part. Monetizing what you do is the hard part, I think. So that is my aim, to go and teach other people how to kind of monetize everything.
And you're doing a course on that?
I will be soon. Yeah, we're putting that together. So my main focus right now is the Enabled Warrior Tracker Planner Journal that I've just created. And basically what that is, it's a kind of journal that you refer to every day that tracks your symptoms, it tracks your exercise, it tracks your hydration levels, your food, everything. You can kind of make a note of absolutely everything on there, and it'll have like graphs and charts and things where you can manually input your information, and then you can take that to your doctor and say, okay, this is where I'm at. Like, it's all there on paper, all there in front of you. Because I don't know about you, but the amount of times I've gone into a doctor's office and they've quizzed me on my entire medical history, and I'm just like, I don't know.
The last period is one that always like has.
Yeah.
No clue.
Exactly. Or they're like, when did this symptom start? I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, I thought to make things easier, I was like, let's just have it all in a book, let's track it every day. And why not, And I know there's like apps and things out there, but personally, I don't feel comfortable putting my information out into this digital cloud space, because you don't know who's seeing it. And I really don't like that. So
I mean, the answer is everyone.
yeah, exactly.
Also,
I
like writing things down. It's proven that for most people, if you write something down, you remember it better. And also you remember the context of when you wrote something down. So even if you didn't write as many details down, you'll actually remember more about it. Otherwise, that's why, here's my notebook. I write everything down.
Yeah. With illustrations.
Both scribbling away. I'm like, oh, I should have got my notebook. Where's my notebook gone?
For me, it's just ADD. Like, if I'm not, I have to be writing to focus on what someone's saying. I have to be drawing or writing.
It's so weird. I take a ridiculous amount of notes. Interestingly, with my symptoms, I haven't done a good enough job tracking them. Also, mine are always so vague. I have fibromyalgia, which is, there's so many overlapping symptoms, but mine are just so odd all the time. I question my body like I like to personify my pain. Be like, what are you doing right now? That doesn't make any sense. You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've tried tracking it before in a journal, but when I didn't have any structure to it, it really just kind of got lost. So it would be nice to have some structure. I do have notes on your phone, or Evernote is an app that I use, and I call it my seeker status. On my company, Wellacopia, people with chronic illnesses are known as seekers. So I was like, okay, what's my seeker status? And the list of symptoms is it's kind of ridiculous. And I mean, we all have that situation, but when I see it written out, it really is kind of mind-boggling. It's like, wait, I feel all these things, and there's probably things I'm forgetting.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, when you actually go and write down that information? And I think as well, when you do physically write down information, you have this sort of emotional attachment to it as well. Mm-hmm. So what I've kind of done in the planner as well, because I am useless at remembering things, to be quite honest. And I used to be really, really, really bad for this. But what has actually helped me in the last few years that I've found is this thing called the Miracle Morning by Hal Everard. I don't know if have you heard of this?
Yeah, that sounds really familiar, actually.
Yeah, his story is phenomenal. It's crazy insane. It's so inspirational, and it's basically this morning routine that you do every single morning that just gets you in the right frame of mind for the day. It's just insane. And I started doing it like a few years ago, and at the start I was kind of like, oh yeah, okay, give it a go, whatever kind of thing, or I just sort of dismiss it. But now I do that religiously every single morning, because without that, like, I start to focus on symptoms. I start to focus on what hurts. I start to focus on what feels weak. I start to feel on focus on how tired I am, and that sort of thing. And when you are obsessed with the kind of negative sort of those sorts of negative feelings that you're feeling, that your body's feeling, it brings you down mentally, and it allows you to, you not thinking positively whatsoever. Which has a really detrimental impact on everything else.
So what are some of the things that help with the morning routine? Is there like a specific part of that really helps?
Yeah. So but what I've done basically in my planner is I've kind of adapted his morning routine that's kind of for everybody, and I've kind of adapted it to chronic illness, because his morning routine it's not for the faint-hearted, I'll be honest, because you have to do things like you do affirmations and gratefulness and journaling and visualization, and you read a page of a book for an hour and things like that. And he also encourages you to do an hour of exercise every morning, and that did not work for me. Just
wow.
No, just
Ambitious.
like I can't do that first thing in the morning for an hour. I felt like I really struggled with that aspect of it. So I've adapted it and I've made it simpler. So basically in my planner, you've basically got, you've got the affirmations, which is the positive kind of I am statements, is what I tend to do a lot. So I tell myself things like, I am confident, I am strong, I am able to handle anything, that positive reaffirmation all the time, even if you're not feeling strong, because quite often my muscles feel quite weak. If I get hot, especially, then I'm just weak. I'm just completely weak. I'm just like a 90-year-old lady. So and things like telling yourself you're confident is just a huge one, because if you'd have met me like 4 years ago, I would not be talking to you on a video right now. I just would not have been doing that, because I would have been so scared, so anxious. I'd have been like, oh, I can't go on video, I can't do this, oh my god, I can't do that, and you've got to flip that mindset. As soon as you start flipping that mindset and you say, do you know what? I said to myself, how would the person that I want to be do the things that I need to do now? And I said, the person that I want to be right now is a confident person that is fearless, that will just go on that video, just do an interview, like reach out to that person, even if, they are like an influencer or a celebrity or whoever, it doesn't matter. Just reach out to them. And you've kind of got to get into this state, get into this kind of confident state. And that takes time, and that is hard. Let me tell you, that is hard to get there, but it's so
possible.
Worth it. Sorry?
Hard, but possible.
Yes, everything is possible.
Yes.
You may have to adapt to get there, but it's possible. And that's the most important thing. So basically going back to the planner, because I'm just getting really distracted. So positive affirmations, super important. There's a space for gratefulness. So if you write what you're grateful for every day, it keeps you thinking in the present tense rather than worrying about the future, rather than worrying about what happened yesterday and getting stressed about what happened yesterday. All in the present. What am I feeling right here, right now? What am I grateful for? And it's just that kind of constant reminder. And then you've got space for journal. So journaling is super important to me. I do it every morning. And it just gets all of the stuff in your head, the kind of random thoughts that you get, like the horrible, hard kind of, just get it all out of there, put it on some paper, stick it on there, put it on your bookshelf, and it's just gone. Yeah, and you don't need to hang on to everything, because it's in the book, it's there. So that has helped me massively. And I think that's going to help a lot of other people as well with chronic illness. So.
And if you go over to our show notes on Squarespace, if you go to invisiblenotbroken.com and you go to the show notes, at the very top, we're going to have all of Jessie's links. So we'll have a link to purchase the journal and to listen to Jessie's podcast. So they'll all be right there at the top. That's actually one of the things I really love about the chronic illness community is there's no competition. I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. Like every person we've interviewed who also runs a podcast, like we're all very friendly and we all share guests. And I've never met anyone who isn't super generous with their time and what their resources are, which I adore. I was a photographer for a long time when I first started that way back in the days of film. People were really like guarded on everything. No one would tell you how to run the business. No one would tell you where the resources came from. So this is like, it's such a, I mean, photography is a different world now too. It became much more open, but this is like way more supportive. Like, I don't think there's anyone you can go to.
Because I think you have this new sort of, it's like your mind just becomes open to what's actually around you, you know, and what's actually important in life. And like, if you came to me and you said, Jess, I really want help with this, I'd be like, sure, let's schedule a call. Let's let's have a chat. Let's see how I can help you, because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And, you know, people need to help people. Like, nobody's competition. That's just so silly.
It's such a weird thing in the world. Like, there's only so much. And it's like, really, there's a lot out there for everyone to, and you get so much more out of life when you're open with others.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we are all unique, even if so there's a bunch of us making podcasts, having interviews, talking to other people about our experiences. We're still all very different people, even if we're talking about the exact same experience, like a dislocation. I don't know.
It's today, no.
So there's really always room for more conversations. And, you know, I was trying to see if I could come up with a good analogy for this, and I was only halfway there. It's only half baked.
Like, we are reviews.
You're not a chair.
It's like we run 2 very separate podcasts on the same network, and we're hoping to expand to other podcasts that we're trying to bring into the network of Invisible Not Broken. And our reviews are hilarious on, like, I can't stand Monica. She swears too much. She's too political. Her voice annoys me. And then it's like, then, you know, other people are like, oh, well, this works better for me over here. It's even in our own podcast, and people are very clear on like what they want from a podcast. So it's good to have, like, you know, you have a lot of bubbly positivity, which is awesome. I am not bubbly or positive.
That's where I come in.
Snarky bitch, and I have embraced.
Too hard.
I'm too old to change now. I'm sorry, everyone. I am a very political person, and I also am very snarky. But you know, for the people who enjoy that, that's great. Thrilled to have you here. But then I can also refer people who find my voice really annoying to someone like you, or to Eva, or to Lauren, who I was hoping we could get on the call, but I blanked on inviting her. So Lauren, I'm sorry. I love you.
We'll do another one. It's
like
fine.
butter. She's like a jazz musician. She's just so smooth. And Lauren is This Is Not What I Ordered, also MS, who oddly lives 40 minutes away from me, and I still have not been human. Like, even before COVID, like, my world is Zoom, so it's
Yeah.
I've been saying to everyone, like, welcome to my world. Like, this isn't anything new for me. I talk to everyone on Zoom anyway.
They're calling my daily routine isolation. What's this about?
I'm actually more social now than I was before COVID, because now all of my friends are home, and they're like, I'm so bored, talk to me. I'm like, I haven't talked to you in like 3 months. This is awesome. Sure, let's all get together. And like, we've been having Zoom wine parties where like there's
I'm having one tonight. It's happening.
You had Passover. Didn't you have Passover?
Me? Yeah. I had 3 Zoom Seders. In fact, Zev and I, my husband and I, we went to his family's Zoom Seder and my family's Zoom Seder. That was actually very difficult to do. But like at the same time, we were at the different ends of the table, and we're like waving to each other's families. But yeah, it's people are actually being more social now. I can't speak for everyone, but a number of my friends have said that they are more social now than they were before, which is nuts. Yeah. I'm talking to my best friends more these days. We're Zooming every other night, watching movies together.
I love that. That's
really
so
great.
We've been having virtual family games nights.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
I've never had that before, so I don't really know why that's a thing, but like...
Thank you for the idea. I'm stealing it. That's awesome.
Yes, please do it. It's awesome. So in the Apple App Store, you've got something called Jackbox Games.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down.
It's so much fun, seriously.
I was wondering what you would have in the UK versus here, because we have a few apps that have been really fun to use. Like one is Marco Polo.
Cool.
Actually, Marco Polo, yeah. And it's a cross between FaceTiming and text, because you record a video and you can watch the video live, but it's really just like a text video. So you could watch it later or you could watch it live. And yeah, my sister lives in the UK, and I actually can't remember if she was able to download it. But anyway, we'll put that in the show notes just in case. I find it to be very fun. And then there is an app called House Party, which I think...
I've heard about this.
I
My
think
dad
it might
actually
be
texted
similar
me.
to Jack in the Box.
My dad texted me that the other night, and he was like, "Hey, I'm just about to do a house party thing with your granddad," and I was like, "What's house party?" I've got no
You
idea
could do a house party with your
what,
granddad.
what that is.
All right, favorite games. Does anyone have like favorite games to play via this like new world on Zoom?
I mean, I love Cards Against Humanity or any variation of it. Monica, must be your favorite game.
I win every time.
I could believe that, to be honest.
Do you have a favorite one, Jessie?
I don't know. Like, so we have this one. So if you're talking about like actual physical board games, me and my husband are obsessed with this game called Ligretto. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a Dutch game. Or it might be German, I'm not quite sure. It's brilliant. It's basically like Dutch Snap or something.
Snap, like the card game?
Kind of, yeah.
I used to play
But
that for
it's
hours.
really competitive. Me and my husband are really competitive anyway. So there's a lot of like slapping on the table and like cards going.
Okay, that sounds dangerous for me.
Great.
Monica can't do this.
I mean,
Especially if you got
my
the one.
hand will end up over here, my arm will end up on the other side of the table. It will-
Oh, that must be
I did-
super annoying.
I did this with my husband the other night. We didn't want to just watch TV, so my one of my bridesmaids gave me this Mad Libs, but it's called Adult Mad Libs, the world's greatest wedding game. And even though we've been married for like 2 years, we decided to pop it out the other night, and that was a good. Mad Libs are always a fun time.
Yeah,
Do
especially
love
the
that.
adult versions are really fun.
And this was written, but I bet you anything there's online Mad Libs or an app or something like that.
No, there's an app. My favorite, because if you're all listening to you are snarky and a nerd, there's a game called Gloom, which is my family's favorite game ever, and it's a storytelling card game. So there's like, yeah, you basically get a family, and it's very Edward Gorey. Like, it looks like it was designed by Edward Gorey, and you get like this very dark, twisted, like sort of Edwardian family, and you get cards on like what happens to them. And you basically try to give your characters the worst life possible. And whoever has like the worst stuff happen to them wins. And you try to like put the good things onto your competitors, because whoever has the most happy points loses. And you have to tell a story with each one you put down. So it could be like, the teddy bear went into the woods and died from wasp stings. And it's like, you have to tell the whole story of how this happened. And my whole family, like even my kids would play that. We're a very twisted family. Please don't call CPS. But it's like our favorite game. And they have like Cthulhu ones, and I think they have a Doctor Who one, and they have a fairy tale one. It's really fun. And Munchkin is the other best one. And that's like, if you are
That one.
Munchkin, oh my God, you know it?
Yeah, my brother I think he tried to give me that one, and then you know when you get he's a gamer. He's a gamer, and I don't know why he does this, but for every birthday and Christmas, he gives me this really random game, and I'm like, I don't really play games. Why do you keep buying me games? And he's like, but you have to play it. You have to play it. Okay, sure. But yeah, I remember him buying me Munchkin. I have no idea where it is. To be honest.
Oh my God. It's like, if you at all played role-playing games, anyway, if you're a gamer and you're a nerd, Munchkin is like the easy way to do role-playing games. So if you want to introduce it to smaller kids and you want to do storytelling, and it's not that, okay, I'm not a good judge on what's off or wrong or inappropriate, but I didn't find it wrong or off or inappropriate to play with my like 10-year-old. So it's kind of a fun storytelling game, and it's totally, you can do packs of like Doctor Who and Cthulhu, and it's fun. So if you want like a fun thing to do with the family that's a little geeky and nerdy and a little dark, I highly recommend Munchkin.
That's the one.
I will look into it as well.
And you could do it on Zoom. You could absolutely do a Zoom one.
Kind of good practice for improv too. These storytelling games. Yeah, I love improv. Big fan. Not saying I'm the best at it, but I like it.
Yes, and
Yes, and.
Oh, my brain fogs it and makes that challenging, to be honest.
yep. I hear that one.
I don't know.
So right before the pandemic hit, like on a mass level, I like the last physical thing I did in my town was an improv show. It was my first improv show. And the reason I decided to take this improv class was because I knew I would suck at it.
Interesting. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I was like, it was on my list this year of like, gotta try, push comfort zone. Because brain fog was definitely one of the reasons. I was like, I'm not gonna know what's going on. And I can't necessarily control it. Although having an adrenaline rush from performing does seem to help with brain fog a bit for me.
Nice. I like that. I kind of found like, so I started learning Japanese at the start of this year.
Ooh.
And I was really loving it. It was super hard. Like, Japanese is insanely hard. But I actually found that learning a new language actually minimized my brain fog quite a lot. Don't know what the science is behind that, but that's pretty cool. So yeah, doing things that push you out of your comfort zone is just amazing.
My friend's husband's a brain surgeon, and when I started having huge brain lapses, like could not remember where I was or my kids' names, like really big brain lapses, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, learn another language as an adult. It actually changes the neural pathways because you are changing where your tongue position is. So it's like a physical thing, and then it's a memory thing. Like it actually accesses most of the points of the brain. So that's one of the big things that he recommended for brain issues, was just learning a different language as an adult. So yay, Duolingo.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, my smallest is learning Japanese. That's her big COVID project, is learning.
Nice.
Japanese. Yeah,
Actually,
what is she doing? I'll write down in the show notes, but it's really cool for kids and grown-ups. It's a program where you can do your own graphic novels and your own animations. And she's doing like this like it was 12 hours. She was on her iPad yesterday, just like making a animation and a graphic novel.
all these fun things.
Yeah.
I have quite a list.
Yeah, there's all of us with kids are like, what the hell do we do? And it just turned spring break over here, so it's like, and we don't even have the teachers anymore. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm feeling very lucky. I have self-directed. I have an adult at home. I have an adult child at home and a teenager at home. So I'm feeling very grateful because my friends with smallers are, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm grateful not to have kids right now, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I gotta stay. Sorry for everyone who does, and I will have kids, I hope, one day, and I will love them to death. But right now,
yeah,
I'm very happy with not having them.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but then at the same time, I bet everyone who's having trouble with their kids, like one day you'll look back on this time and go, wow, I got to spend so much time with my kids, and now I don't get to see them.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe that's too much.
You don't get to say that.
Not right now.
I love you, but no one with it.
I don't get to say that.
Rule for the pandemic, for everyone who's listening, is if you do not have children, you do not get to judge anyone's parenting or speculate on what this is like. Like, I will not speculate on what toddlers or infants are like during this. Just know, like, let's talk huge latitude on survival right now. Like, if everyone's alive at the end of the day, everyone won. Congratulations. That's the bar.
You win. Woo.
Yay. So we are at an hour. I just thought, like, real quick before we signed off, anyone have like a favorite book or TV show that's gotten you through before we go, just to give everyone some recommendations before I have to go and like massively drug myself up? And because I need advice on what to watch after I finish Tiger King, and I don't want to watch that while on all of my drugs. It feels a little too close to home with all the meth addiction.
I'm the wrong person to ask about TV shows because I don't actually have a TV.
Oh,
I watched a really good film the other night though on Amazon, which was The Upside. So
I have not heard. I'm writing it down. I don't know if we get it here in the US, because a lot of what you guys get, we have to wait like 6 months to get, which drives me nuts because I love British TV. I'm obsessed. I raised my kids on Red Dwarf and Blackadder.
Oh,
which absolutely both my children.
They like Blackadder, they'll like Mr. Bean.
I don't like Mr. Bean.
Completely different, but like Mr. Bean's awesome.
Too much. Mr. Bean is too much.
No, I really love I'm a history nerd. I actually run a second podcast for kids on history.
Nice.
And yeah, quick plug. I can't believe that happened. We're doing a whole season on the history of robots. So I loved like all the stuff that I knew in history being shown through a very goofy, different sides. So I'm not a big fan of like the physical comedy stuff, like the Benny Hill Show. Mr. Bean.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
That's not my thing.
You'd
Like,
love horrible
the Monty
history.
Python walks the line for me. Like I love Holy Grail. That's about it. And the Dead Ranch, that is comedy genius, but everything else is kind of like, oh. Yeah. So what's the upside?
So the upside is, Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drugs.
Drugs. Basically, yeah, drugs.
Christ. Talking to me, these
Breaking Bad.
like set on random on like what words I can remember or not remember. What was that show?
Breaking Bad.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
I love that show. That was amazing. So it's basically him, and his character is just like some sort of like billionaire art dealer kind of person. It's a completely different role to anything that he's ever been in, to be honest. And then he goes hang gliding one day, and he I can't remember, he has like some sort of accident, and he basically becomes quadriplegic. So he basically has no feeling of anything from the neck down, just like all of a sudden. And his wife actually passed away, and the story is kind of centered around this guy who accidentally turns up to the job interview to be his carer, basically. Wasn't really supposed to be there. He doesn't even know what the role of a carer does. And it's very, very funny. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that's the carer, and I cannot remember, and it's a really popular guy, and I can't remember his name. Oh, that's going to really annoy me all day.
I can Google.
He's a comedian. He's very, very funny. And they basically like, they're friends and stuff. It's a very kind of touching film.
Yeah, I want to see that. Came out in 2017, and I did not know about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. You have anyone that you've been watching, Eva?
I've just been catching up on a lot of things that I've been wanting to watch. I do want to watch the show Unorthodox, which is on Netflix. I haven't yet, but I want.
I need to be alone. Like I'm never alone, and I always have someone in my room. And I've been dying to watch it, but it seems like something that I would need to pay therapy for if my smallest watched it with me. So I'm not
possibly. She might not understand what's going on. Well, no.
Have you talked to my daughter?
Oh, right. My
child's already a therapist. Like, no, she understands everything.
14 going on 40, something like that.
13. Stop it.
13, yeah. 13 going at least 30. That's a movie right there.
That's a good film, actually.
That's a good movie. I love that movie. Jennifer Garner is like one of my favorite. Like, I just need to feel warm and fuzzy.
The crowd pleaser for sure.
Really cute. And like, what was the other one with Colin Firth? Oh Jesus! It was like the girl who goes to England and her father's like a House of Lords, and I mean, Alliance before she went nuts. That's what that was.
Oh, Princess Diaries.
No, but I love that one too.
Oh,
Ellen Encanted's like another favorite of mine. Like I can watch that a billion times.
They're good early 2000s movies. They just you're right back.
Movies. What a Girl Wants.
Oh, What a Girl Wants. That was it. Yes.
That was so cute. Yeah.
I watched that the other day, actually.
I just watched the Mr. Rogers one, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. That was really, that was, we all watched it. We're like, so with our presidential choices, can we get Mr. Rogers back? we need him now, please. I need Steve Irwin and Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers.
Bob Ross was my favorite.
All right, everyone, I am falling apart so fast. If you cannot tell while you're listening to this, anything I said that was offensive, please forgive me and blame it on dislocations. Doing my best here. I'm hoping we can get you back on, Jessie. I hope we can make this more of a regular thing. This is super fun. Hopefully I'll be better medicated so I can stay on a less random setting through this.
Oh, bless you.
Random is how we do.
Yeah.
Why hold out such hope for things that have never happened before? Eternal optimist. So hopefully you'll come back on, and so be kind, be gentle, and dear God, in this time in the world, be a badass in whatever way that looks like for you. Don't push yourself too hard on that, but whatever you can do to feel like you are doing what you need to do. I'm going to sign off before I stop making any sense at all. So Eva, I'll let you close out the show. Eva, please.
Jessie, thanks so much for coming on today. And you are certainly kind, gentle, and clearly badass. I love our sign off because it fits our guests very well, I feel.
Oh wait, Jessie, did you want to sign off?
Sorry?
Did you want to sign off, Jessie, with your show and your tagline?
Sure. Go and catch up on the Disabled to Enabled podcast.
I need to come up with mine.
We'll talk. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Sign back on. I'm sure Eva will be back on with next week. And definitely check out Jessie's podcast. We will have all of her links for everything at the top. Just head to our show notes and all of it will be on the top. And thanks so much, everyone. Have a great week.